Hey guys, for this movie, I am actually going to be doing a movie review. I am actually going to be doing a movie review of Dungeons and Dragons Honor of Among Thieves. I fucking love this movie. This movie was so enjoyable to me. I did not even know this movie was going to be coming out until I saw it, a trailer in theaters, and just the action scenes and the humor appealed so much to me that I was like, okay, I'm going to watch this when it comes out, and I was not disappointed. Before I get into that, give a little synopsis of the movie. I mean, it's based on Dungeons and Dragons. It's literally a game in which you pretty much, get with friends and make up the story as you go along. So it's pretty, I think it's kind of open to the story that they, were able to do. But so the main character, I completely forgot the name already. But Chris Pine's character, he is in jail, essentially, prison, with Holga, and she's essentially his sister. They have like a sibling relationship, even though they're not blood related, and they very much act like siblings. And so they start out, they're in prison, and they're being judged to whether or not they would be able to be pardoned because they've been in prison for like 2 years already. And so, long story short, they end up escaping, and he's trying to find his daughter, get his daughter back. He's also looking for this tablet to bring back his wife, who was murdered, whose death he feels responsible for. And so they soon learn that it's not going to be that easy. They have to take down the villain who is threatening his daughter and pretty much everyone in the kingdom. And so he has to get this ragtag team of misfits, if you will, to go on these lot of different quests. Like obviously they do in Dungeons and Dragons, the game. And so yeah, that's essentially what it's about in a nutshell. Like I said, I love this movie because, one, the humor is so smart. It doesn't rely on one-liners. It relies on situational humor. It relies on, the clashing of all these different personalities that, really gives us these humorous moments. And I love the way that the story is written. I watched it 2 times. The second time, because I know who the villain was, I was able to kind of see how the villain was able to manipulate the characters, or at least the main character, from the very beginning. And so I loved it. It was so well written. And which shocked me to learn that Sweets wrote the screenplay for this movie. Sweets, the character who, from Bones, can't remember the actual guy's name, but he wrote the script for this movie, and I adore it. Makes me want to go watch whatever else he's directed / written / produced, whatever movies he's been involved in, because I love it. I love the way the movie was written. Yeah, the characters, they each had their own, personalities, like I said, and they kind of each had their own flaws that they kind of had to overcome. So Chris Pine, he kind of had to come to terms with the fact that he was a bad father, because he's kind of, put his guilt, I guess, for his wife's death before taking care of his daughter. He also, they each have their own little struggles, and I really enjoyed seeing them develop and, helping each other through their problems. I love the action scenes. The thing I love about the action scenes are how smart they were, because each character has their own strengths, but they don't overuse their powers. So, for example, the wild shape can change shapes. They don't overuse it. They use it just enough to keep it interesting. And when they do use it, they use it very smart. So, for example, they have this like entire chase scene where the wild shape is trying to escape from the castle because she's discovered by the blood wizard. And so she starts out as a fly, and then she goes through like the ventilation shaft, and then she goes down the shaft into like this like popcorn machine, I think it was, something like that. She turns into a mouse, and then the mouse, escapes out through the window and turns into a bird, and she's falling, and then she falls into the chimney and turns into a cat. The entire time they're doing this fucking tracking shot throughout the entire chase scene. And so there's literally no cuts the entire chase scene, and you get all these cool effects. It was just so beautifully done, so fascinating, entertaining, you name it. I also enjoyed that they use different like styles of shots. So in one of the scenes, they're entering a building, but they start at the top, like right above the door, and the camera's like upside down. So you're viewing the character, he's upside down up here, and then slowly it starts rotating and then panning down to the character. And so we get these kind of different styles of shots in this movie that I really did enjoy. It was just kind of cool. And then it's the same also with Holga. She's a barbarian. She has this, increased strength. That's also a very good fighter. And one of my favorite scenes with her character is when they're in the armory and she's fighting all these different soldiers. And as the fight goes along, you slowly start realizing that she's gaining more and more armor as she's fighting. Because she starts out, she has like this leather sleeveless vest, and just like some like leather padding on her legs. But, as it goes along, you realize she has a shield on her back. She's, like, sometime during the fight put a shield on her back to protect her from people coming up behind her, and then she eventually, gets, puts on a helmet during the fight to protect her head. And it was just, it's funny because you don't realize it at first. It slowly starts dawning on you, and it's hysterical. But yeah, it was just so funny, and it was just, all of her fight scenes are so fun and creative, and we get to see her different, like, how she moves, and just how good of a fighter she is. And another one with the wild shape, I forgot to mention when I was talking about her. In one of the scenes, we also get to see how smart she is, because they have to go into this maze where they have to like fight their way out, essentially. Well, they decide they don't want to have to fight their way out because they'll be fighting, till they die. And so they outsmart the creators by, going outside of the maze, because it keeps like changing like every minute or so. It keeps like, blocks go down and then others come up to create a new maze. And so they go outside of the maze and they find a gelatin square. I don't know what it's called in the book or in the game, but it's essentially a block of acid that if you're in it too long, it will dissolve your flesh. The wild shape waits for the perfect moment and then has them all jump into the square. And then she sticks her finger out of the cube on the other side and then turns into a snake and slithers out the hole that her finger had created, so that she's able to turn back into herself and pull all the others out in the span of a few seconds, so that they're not actually hurt by the the acid. And it's really smart and creative and so fun. I just loved it. Man, this movie was so creative that I guess it really did surprise me. I went in thinking it was going to be just this boring, not boring, I won't say boring, but just your typical fantasy movie where, you just some fun moments for like an hour or two, or an hour and a half, but ends up being really just really impressive. Oh, one of my favorite scenes, it was at the beginning and the end, because it happened at the beginning and then they kind of reference it again at the end. So at the beginning, when they're they're in front of these judges to determine whether or not they will be pardoned. Well, the entire time he's asking for this other judge, because there's this judge that's late, and his name's Jonathan, and he keeps asking for Jonathan. He's like, can we wait until Jonathan gets here? And the judges keep saying, no, no, no. So he kind of stalls by giving them his entire backstory, which conveniently lets us know kind of what his backstory is. But it was so funny, because when Jonathan finally appears, the entire time you thought he was in on it, but it turns out Jonathan wasn't in on it at all. So Jonathan's like this humanoid eagle. So he has an eagle head, he has wings, but he also has arms. So they both grab Jonathan, push him out the window, grasping onto him, yelling at him to open his wings, and he does, so that he doesn't die as well. And so it finally, they're able to open his wings enough so that they can land somewhat softly. And they just leave the poor guy there while they make their escape. And at the end of the movie, the villain, he's in the same exact prison. He's in front of the same exact judges to determine whether or not he'll be pardoned for his crimes. And so Jonathan, once again, has a misfortune of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. So the guy grabs Jonathan, and they have a curtain in front of the window, and so he tries to jump out the window, and they crash into a wall. Turns out they had bricked up the window and put a curtain in front of it. And so it was just so hysterical, and you felt so sorry for Jonathan. And one of the judges was female, and she both times she shrieks Jonathan, and just the way she delivers it was so hysterical that it was just so funny to me. I had a lot of fun during that movie. I talked to my coworkers about it, tried to see if they watched it, and kind of push them to see if they'll watch it. One of my coworkers, when I mentioned Chris Pine, she said that she liked him in Star Trek. So I'm not sure if she'll see it. I think she said she might see it on. Well, she mentioned Disney Plus. I don't think it's going to be on Disney Plus, but I'm sure if there's a streaming service, it's on the streaming service, she'll probably watch it. But yeah, one of my other coworkers are actually talking about going to see it sometime. She loathes horror. I keep trying to get her to come, watch horror movies, but she adamantly refuses. But one of them, she's willing to go watch Dungeons and Dragons with me, so. But yeah, so, the acting I thought was pretty decent. Not Oscar worthy, obviously. But for what the movie is, I think the acting was pretty good. Oh, I forgot to mention the daughter. The daughter who plays in this one, I recognized her. She's the one who plays the daughter in 65. And I just seen that movie. That was the movie I saw before I went to see this, or at least before I saw Scream. Yeah, and I was like, she looks so goddamn familiar. And it turns out it was the same actress. Yeah, Chris Pine was very charming in this, of course. He has a lot of charisma, and he's able, when he plays these kind of characters, is very charming, and so he really does, make the movie enjoyable as well. And the wild shape is played by the girl who plays the redheaded It, which I liked her in that, and I liked her this as well. So the guy, the sorcerer, he looked familiar. I think he was in Bumblebee. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think he was in Bumblebee. And then, of course, there was Hugh Jackman, who plays the Chris Pine's friend / villain. He turns, on Chris Pine at well, technically, towards the beginning of the movie, he's revealed to be the bad guy. But I did not know that was Hugh Jackman, because the first scene we've seen with him, he has this he has a ponytail, essentially. And I guess I'm not used to Hugh Jackman having a ponytail, so that when he pops up with short hair, I was like, I did not recognize him, when I saw him the first time. So, yeah, honestly, I think that's all I had to say about this movie. If you like fantasy, go watch this. If you like Dungeons and Dragons, if you don't like Dungeons and Dragons, I think you still should go see this, because it's a fun movie. I mean, even if you take your kid to see it, you'll enjoy it as well, I think you. So, I think that I've said everything I need to about this movie. Just go watch it, and I'm sure you'll have a fun time. So if you did like this movie review, give it a like, subscribe to get notification for all the videos I'll be doing. You guys have a nice night. Stay safe out there, and I'll talk to you later.